We've got some news about the producer of Final Fantasy XVI, Yoshi-P, looking into delivering us news of potential DLC for the game in the near future. And with it, we've got a whole lot more DLC speculation, along with the latest patch notes for the game that fixes a lot of complaints. It's another big news video for Final Fantasy XVI, so let's waste no time and get right into it.
We were talking.
Then let's shut him up.
Final Fantasy XVI has been out for 3 weeks now, and with an average 87 on Metacritic with a very solid user score, the consensus is that people are enjoying the game quite a bit. It has been quite a long time since we have seen a single-player mainline Final Fantasy game do this well critically, perhaps since 2006's Final Fantasy XII, and those at Square Enix are quite happy with that fan reception. So much so that Yoshi-P, the producer of the game, has revealed in a recent interview with the YouTube channel Gamer Braves that the team is currently looking at providing DLC to the game at a future date. While Yoshi-P is not outright confirming that the team will be making DLC for the game, he acknowledges that fans are craving for more in the world of Valisthea, and that potentially, at some point, we will have more information about some new content for the game. And a question about whether Final Fantasy XVI would get the DLC treatment, this is what producer Yoshi-P had to say. As you know, going into Final Fantasy XVI, the one thing we wanted to create is a full, complete story, something that you can enjoy from the beginning to end 100% without any DLC, and I think we were able to do that. But now, we understand we're getting feedback from players that have played the game, and a lot of players want to see more, and we know that and understand that. For us, we're taking that and then thinking about our options moving forward. So hopefully in the near future, we can have something that we can give to you all. So this is all quite exciting, as for those who came away really enjoying Final Fantasy XVI and the world of Valisthea, we may be getting more content to the game at some point. What this content is anyone's guess at this point, since even during the game's development, Square Enix had no intention of making DLC for the game. In an older interview several months ago with Game Informer, Yoshi-P reiterated this sentiment with, "It's a one-off game. We're asking players to pay the full price for this experience, and so we want an experience that's going to equal the amount of money that players are going to be paying, and we want them to have the satisfaction equal to what they paid for or even more than that." He continues with, "We have no idea if people are going to fall in love with Valisthea and fall in love with Clive's story and want to see more of the world and more of its characters. So while we always want to consider DLC or spin-offs or those types of things where you can learn more about the game, first we want to see if Valisthea and Clive are really things players around the world want to see more of and then make that decision." Fast forward to the present day with fans largely in agreement that this Final Fantasy is definitely a quality entry in the series, I think it is a good possibility that we will be seeing some future content in Final Fantasy XVI, if not the world of Valisthea. The narrative and characters were viewed in a great light, and while not everyone has come away completely loving the gameplay and systems on offer in the game, the consensus is that the story and the characters within it were a home run. Perhaps this may lead to a potential sequel? I've got some sequel ideas in my mind, so let me know if you'd like to see a video about a potential Final Fantasy XVI 2. Since the news broke that Yoshi-P and crew were considering DLC for the game, fans have been hypothesizing what kinds of DLC could pan out. Some interesting DLC proposals are fans requesting for an extra icon that was but mentioned one time in the game, being Leviathan. This would be actually a really cool element the team could further dive into. It's not that we would actually get the chance to wield Leviathan, at least not with Clive, but to learn more about this icon that indeed existed within the world of Valisthea would be really awesome. This proposed DLC could give us insight into the lore and history behind the lost icon, and perhaps we could get some story DLC about the figure who wielded the icon during its final moments. Because Clive's story is complete and, at the end of the game, without getting into spoilers, nicely wraps up Clive's arc in Valisthea, giving the reins to another protagonist in a DLC or future game could be just the way players could experience more icons and more lore surrounding Valisthea in an age having taken place well before Clive's story. with some criticism toward the game being that players would have liked to have taken control of more icons during the larger-than-life icon battles. Giving players DLC in which we could learn more about and wield Leviathan would be an incredible way to extend the game. In addition to Leviathan, fans have been thinking about a DLC regarding the Fallen, with their technology being explored further. Perhaps Clive could travel back in time with the Fallen technology, exposing to us the downfall of the Fallen and their civilization, while simultaneously exposing us to the other Mother Crystals, exploring the lands of Valisthea before the Blight started eroding the far reaches of the map, etc. There really are a lot of things that Square can do with potential DLC, and it's quite fun to think about where it could take us. If you've got some good DLC ideas of your own, do me a solid and let me know your ideas in the comments. One more idea that I thought could be something quick and easy for future DLC with Final Fantasy XVI would be an updated bounty board featuring even more hunts of classic Final Fantasy monsters. Glaring omissions like Tonberry and Cactuar are pretty noticeable in Final Fantasy XVI, and adding these enemies into the game via an updated bounty board makes a lot of sense here and would be something I would imagine to be quite simple to do. Whether that's too minimal for most fans out there is up for discussion, but as it stands, we may end up never getting DLC for the game. As much as I have loved Final Fantasy XVI and personally claim it to be up there with all the all-time greats in the series, I think there is a lot to say about leaving things the way they are. Sometimes these games don't need to offer us anything more than what's already there, and while I would be happy and excited to get more DLC for this game and potentially even a sequel in something like Final Fantasy XVI 2, I would be just as happy with this experience being just that, left the way it was and how Square originally envisioned it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments whether you agree with that and if you'd like to see more content for Final Fantasy XVI going forward.
Let's try.
Now, this isn't exactly big news, but several days ago, a new update for the game launched, providing some awesome fixes that players have been looking forward to ever since the demo launched a month ago. In Update 1.03, fans can enjoy tinkering with the motion blur, perhaps the most requested feature, among various other camera settings being added, additional controller configurations, text issues, and more. While it hasn't addressed the other common complaint, being the unequal frame rate in the game's performance mode, that is something Square Enix is looking into addressing in a future update to the game.
Whenever I got to that part of the story, I always assumed there must be something I'd misunderstood.
You had a lot of story packs, didn't you?
Watch this video here going over the good and the bad with the side quests in Final Fantasy XVI, and stay tuned to the channel for more updates regarding Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy XVI, and I look forward to seeing you all real soon in the next one.